Hey guys, Swarups here. Welcome to my 18th C programming tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll just continue from where I left off in the last tutorial on arrays. So this will be arrays part 2. If you have watched my last tutorial, you will know that we have declared an array like this. Say x of 5, something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And maybe I want to print the value %d x of maybe 3. Good. Now what this does is it prints the value 4, obviously, because in arrays the numbering starts from 0, not from 1. That's all has been done in the last tutorial. Well, what I am planning to do in this tutorial will be to add some tweaks to this statement right over here, the initialization statement for the array. We could change it in many ways and see its impact on the final output. So let's see it. Here we have this 5 indicating the size of the array. That tells the compiler how many spaces of memory it has to allocate. But we don't actually have to give it when we are specifying it like this, because the compiler can understand the number of memory spaces it has to allocate from the number of elements we have entered here. Since clearly I have given only 5 elements, it's implied that it needs 5 memory elements. So it just takes 5 without any errors. So let's just run and see what happens. And there you go, 4. So that is not a problem. We can even add another number and it will still be fine. It allocates 1 more memory space. That's it. Now the real problem is when we change this number to not 5, not nothing, to a number that is less than 5 or greater than 5. Maybe like 4 or 3, or some number greater than 5, maybe 6 or 7. So let's see that now. Let's consider I entered 4 here. So now when the compiler comes to read this statement, it comes here, sees that 4, so it understands that it has to allocate 4 memory spaces in the memory. And now it comes to this part and sees there are 5 elements and a dilemma. It says 4 memory spaces, but there are 5 elements. We can't fit in 5 elements in 4 spaces. So the compiler can't understand that, and that is what we call a syntax error. So let's see that, and here you go. That's the error, too many initializers. Well, the error and the error message you get may be a bit different depending on the compiler you use. If you're not using C-free, you may get another message, but it basically means the same thing. And now another case possible is, what if I entered a number greater than 4, say 6, say 7. Now it has to allocate, it understands that it has to allocate 7 memory spaces, but it only has 5 numbers. So it's again in a dilemma. Well, it's not much of a dilemma as in the previous case. It has extra number of spaces. It could just pop in all these 5 numbers and is still left with 2 spaces. Well, what it fills with these 2 memory spaces is the required thing. Well, in C at least, when we have more number of memory spaces than there are elements, the compiler just puts 0 in them, in the last places. So let's see what it says for x of 6, the last element, because it starts on 0 and 6 is the last element, and it says 0 right here. Now let's see what it happens for 5. It should say 0, and yes, it does. So that's this tutorial. This tutorial is basically about the tweaks that are possible for the initialization statement of the array. Just play around with them and you'll get it in no time. One gives us an error, one doesn't. So that's the entire synopsis of this tutorial, and more tutorials on the arrays will come up, because arrays is such an important topic of C programming. It keeps coming back to us again and again in many of the next concepts like strings, structures and pointers. So just be ready for that. So see you later.